is the profitability one, where a candidate is expected to diagnose an issue with the business and offer recommendations. Here, the objective is to identify why a petrol pump owner is seeing declining profits. Although this candidate starts very strong, her poor structuring towards the latter half of the case makes investigating this issue a little challenging.
Hello, Prachi.
Hello.
So let's get underway.
Yeah.
Your client is a petrol pump owner and they're facing reduced profits.
Okay.
Why is that happening?
I just have some preliminary questions. How many petrol pumps do they own in the city or across nation?
So the client owns just one petrol pump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have they been into business since a long time or they just recently joined in?
They've been in the business for quite some time.
Okay.
It's been about 15, 20 years.
What is their area of operation like? Do they operate in some city or a highway or something like that?
They operate on a highway.
Okay.
But why is that relevant?
Because then their majority of the customer segment would definitely be different, because in city you won't have trucks as your customer majorly, but on the highways you might have bigger vehicles there.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a petrol pump. So do they deal with petrol and diesel and other services also, or are they restricted to just petrol or diesel?
Petrol and diesel. They also have some other services like
Okay.
they have a convenience store, they have a car wash.
Okay. And do they provide anything like CNG or something?
No.
No. So, should I consider taxis to be one of their customers? Because these days we have a lot of CNG taxis running around.
Mm-hmm.
So, should I consider taxis to be a part of their customer segment?
I mean, they would probably, if there are CNG taxis, then the CNG taxis wouldn't be using,
Yeah, petrol.
wouldn't be using this particular petrol pump
Okay.
to fill that tank. They probably use a car wash.
Okay. They might come here for the other facilities, but sure. So I'll just take a minute to try
Please.
the overall approach. So my overall approach would be to divide profits into revenue and cost.
Okay.
So profits is revenue minus cost. So as I'm seeing a decline in profits, so one major reason could be either their revenue is going down or their cost is going up. So I further divided revenue into some major categories. First is the revenue would be the amount sold into the price. So I've taken the price per liter of diesel and petrol. We can consider them separately. The units of diesel sold and units of petrol sold. They provide other services as well, so we can consider other services and what is the pricing for their other services.
Okay, so
And
what exactly do you want to consider under other services? Because you've
yeah, the ones that you mentioned, that they do car wash and they even have a store. So the revenue that they like, what are the different services that they provide here, and what is the approximate and
okay,
average
got
price.
it.
So for the I've divided cost further into fixed cost and variable cost. The fixed cost would be the land rent and this
Got
kind of
it.
thing, and the second would be the machines, how many machines they're using, and the variable cost would be how much they're paying in return to the company from which they're buying and how much labor they have employed. And I think because it's a petrol, they would need to do some quality checks at certain point
Okay.
of time. So this is another thing.
I think labor would be a variable cost.
Yeah, because there could be possibility that they hire or they remove labor at some point of time. Because I think,
Based on the demand.
yeah, there could be possibility that during peak hours they might actually call in more people.
Okay.
The candidate asks good preliminary questions to understand the case context. She does extremely well in presenting the profits driver tree in detail. The structure is fairly messy, the presentation is neat and easy to follow. One should be careful what costs are categorized under fixed and what under variable. Variable costs are spends that increase with every unit of product sold. It includes the cost of raw material, packaging, certain taxes, etc. In this case, employee cost doesn't really increase with every additional unit of petrol sold, so categorizing it under the fixed cost header is a better assumption. In any case, it's a good habit to clarify this with the interviewer.
So, do we have any idea about what is the major reason for the decline in profits? Is it the revenue or the cost?
See, both have reduced.
Okay. So the cost reduction is definitely a plus point for us. So it should lead to a rise in profits. But I think because the revenue has decreased, this should be one major reason.
Right.
So should we focus this on more?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So amongst this, do we have any kind of idea? Like, is there customers? Like are the customers decreased, or the one major thing that I could figure out is because it's the price that
What
they
are the different things that could be happening?
it could be either there's a reduction in the price, or
Okay.
it could be a problem with how much of units they are selling, or it could be if a majority of their revenue comes from other services, we could also look into this.
Okay. So, uh, the
So,
price,
yeah,
the price of fuel hasn't changed.
Okay. So
The diesel, the number of the units of diesel and petrol they're selling has both gone down.
Okay.
The other services, the price of other services hasn't changed.
okay.
But yeah, the other service, the revenues that you get from the other services has still gone down.
Still gone down.
Has gone down.
Okay. So, also I would like to know here, what is the proportion that they are focusing to sell on diesel and petrol? Like, do they sell equal amount? Do they have equal number of machines for petrol and diesel, or they focus more on something?
No, there's an equal focus on both.
Okay. And could you just tell me about what is the price that they are selling the petrol and diesel at?
How is that relevant?
Because we need to then consider if they are selling, let's say, at 40, at suppose 100 per liter of diesel and petrol at 50 rupees per liter, and they can then earn more of, like, they need to focus more on selling diesel than on selling petrol at, like, if they're selling same amount, so they need to focus more on selling diesel.
Okay.
So
So what is your question?
is there a major price difference between both of the petrol and diesel?
Yes, there is a price difference.
So diesel is more than petrol.
Diesel is cheaper than petrol.
Okay, diesel is cheaper. So I'll just take a minute down to
Sure.
further break it down. I just have one question.
Yes.
Do the trucks, because they are operating on a highway, so I'm considering the larger vehicles, trucks and trolleys, they should be their major customer. So do they operate on
Why do you think that?
Because it's a highway and it's a long distance travel, and generally the larger vehicles travel through the highway.
Does that mean that smaller vehicles don't
No,
take
no.
the highway?
I mean to say that they should be one of their major customers. The smaller vehicles are also there. So do the trucks
What if I
operate?
tell you that it it's equal?
Okay. So
Why did you assume that?
because they generally take more and more
Okay.
liters.
Now, please validate any information or any assumptions that you're making.
Okay.
It's the same
Okay.
in this case.
And what all vehicles would be using diesel? I could think of car and taxis, some of the cabs that they
Cars
work
and
there.
trucks.
Cars and trucks. Do I consider two-wheelers to be here?
No, the two-wheelers are not allowed on the highway. Cars, trucks, buses.
Do buses use also petrol and diesel?
Diesel.
So should I consider that all three of these can use either of petrol and diesel?
Trucks and buses use diesel typically. Cars use both.
Okay. So because our the amount of petrol and diesel that we are selling has gone down, so definitely there's the amount of customers that we are targeting has gone down. So uh, what could be major?
Are you sure that's it?
No.
Is that the only thing that could be happening?
Hmm. I'll just take a minute to think about this. The amount of diesel sold has gone down. Are they even providing to some other third party? Like they
No.
act as a mediator?
Why don't you try breaking that down mathematically?
The cars, trucks, and buses?
Take any one. Say amount of petrol or diesel sold to a customer. Can you break it down mathematically?
Yeah, means depending on how much consumption,
Yeah,
how much is
exactly.
the quantity they need.
Yeah.
So should I break it down individually for all of? I'm sorry, but I really don't know how much is the capacity for a
No,
car.
that's okay. Just break it down mathematically. Just want you to be exhaustive.
Okay.
So, I want you to break down the total amount of diesel that is sold at this petrol pump. How would you break that down mathematically? In terms of price, in terms of, no, sorry, not price, in terms of what components would you break down the total amount of diesel sold?
The major breakdown would be what are the customers that they're targeting and how much they're selling to each of them.
Exactly.
Right.
So if the total amount of diesel that's being sold is going down, it could be because of the total number of customers
going down, or the amount that they're selling that going down.
Each.
Right.
After laying out the structure, the candidate talks about the prices of petrol and diesel, which is not relevant. The change in price and units sold is all that matters. She also assumes that the majority of the traffic comprises trucks and buses. This is an easy mistake to avoid since this assumption can be checked with the interviewer. Another logical leap the candidate makes is assuming that the number of vehicles has reduced because units of fuel sold have reduced. Reduction of units sold is dependent on both transaction size per vehicle and number of vehicles or customers.
Vehicle customer.
Okay.
Okay, just wanted you to break it down that way. Anyway, so what's actually happening is the number of customers have gone down.
Okay. So we have considered the major customers to be cars, trucks, and buses. So do we have any kind of idea what is the customer that have gone down, or should we consider on all the possibilities?
So number of cars have reduced.
Okay. So we need to figure out some alternatives or some methods by which we can target more to the car customers, or we can sell more number of units to the car
Okay. Sure, but why is this reduction happening?
uh, are there any competitors around us so that like in the proximity they might
We are
have
the only petrol pump.
on the highway?
Yes.
Okay. Use customers and some just try to- Some of the major things that I could think of is we have seen a reduction in the number of customers.
Yes.
So one could be that they do not need a refill in their journey from Delhi to Chandigarh highway that we are considering. So one reason could be that, and the another because the price per liter is same, so I don't think the price should matter the
Okay.
customers. It could be some other services that they might be looking
Why do you
for.
think suddenly customers don't want to refill petrol? Why?
No, I just said that between the Delhi to Chandigarh highway, the distance might not be too much for them to have a
But they've been
refill.
doing this for a very long time, right? Why suddenly? Why a change in behavior suddenly?
Mm,
So I'll give you a piece of information. This has started happening in the past 1 year.
the reduction in car
Yeah.
customers. Is there any specific? So the thing that I can figure out from here is that the amount of cars that are passing through the highway has decreased. So
Okay.
could there be a reason that people are going more on sharing cabs or something of that that the amount
What
of
else?
mm, the amount of cars passing through that and the people who need to refill it. Mm. Mhm. The efficiency of the engine might have increased in the recent years because of technology upgradation.
In the past 1 year,
Uh,
not really.
okay.
Do you? Fine, let me help you here. Do you think the total number of people traveling between Delhi and Chandigarh
Might have
may have reduced? Okay, but that's not what is happening.
Okay.
That could be one reason. If the total number of people traveling between Delhi and Chandigarh has not reduced, but suddenly there's a dip in the number of cars on the highway.
So they
Is
might
there?
be using some other mode of transportation.
Yes.
So they could be using buses or air travel or something, trains.
Yes.
So the amount of number of people traveling through road would have
Yes,
reduced.
yes, correct. They haven't been using buses. There's a new airline which started shuttles between Delhi and Chandigarh.
Okay. So a majority of people are then opting for airlines if it's
That is indeed what
cheaper.
is happening. Could you synthesize?
Pardon?
Could you wrap up the case? That is indeed what is happening.
Okay. Just be
Could you wrap up the case?
Yeah. I just take a minute to
Sure.
figure out what's going on.
Taking shots in the dark to diagnose the problem gives the interviewer no comfort whatsoever. Rather than checking with the interviewer intermittently to see if you have the answer, it is advisable to take a minute or two to think through a structured approach, a mathematical breakdown, or at the very least a full set of options before quizzing the interviewer. In this case, the reason why fewer vehicles are taking the highway could be because A. The number of people traveling between Delhi and Chandigarh have reduced. B. They're taking a different route altogether. C. They're carpooling to take fewer vehicles or are taking public transport. Or D. They're using another refueling station.
Yeah.
All right.
So, for the entire case that we solved here right now, so because the petrol pump has been facing losses, and we figured out that one major reason was a reduction in revenue, and further we broke it down and we saw that the amount of diesel that they're selling has gone down, and within that we saw that the amount of car customers has seen a reduction, and a majority of travelers are now preferring to go by air rather by road, and so this was one of the thing, and through the entire case what I could figure out is that the petrol pump owner should focus more on other kind of customers if there are lesser of car travelers, so he could have focus on trucks and buses,
Okay.
and he could add some kind of scheme. Definitely there could not be a scheme, but he could provide them with other benefits and services that he has to offer at a reduction in price so that they take from him, and he could focus more on improving his other services. He could add on some services, and he could, because these days a lot of people pay through cards, so he could also try to look out for opportunities wherein he could give benefits for people who pay through card. So this could be one advantage, and generally because it's on a highway, so I think some kind and he has a utility store, so he could focus on that area as well more to get some more share of revenue.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
The overall case solving was average. The candidate started out very strong, laying out a good driver tree and asking relevant preliminary questions. The clarity in thought was reflected in her paper, which was easy for the interviewer to read. As the case progressed, though, the candidate's structure wavered as she was unable to address the right issues which should have come out of the structure itself. The synthesis could have simply comprised of the problem, the issue that caused the problem, and how the two are related. The recommendations, although sensible, should have been driven by higher expected profit rather than revenues. More ideas focused on trucks and buses could have been discussed, like opening a dhaba or a food court to make it an attractive stop, starting a maintenance workshop, etc.